Hey, I'm Butterfly.
Hey, I'm Firefly.
Have you ever wondered if we aren't being told the truth about everything?
What have we been lied to about? Join us as we have conversations and ask questions about everything. We invite you to keep an open mind and consider the unfathomable.
Let's break the chains that enslave our minds. Come on, let's go down the rabbit hole. Hey, Firefly, how's it going?
What's up, Butterfly? Good to see you.
Good to see you. So, are we going to go down another rabbit hole?
We have a rabbit hole to go down today
Ugh.
because what triggered it was our favorite guy.
Which one? We have a few.
We have a few. Dr. Fauci.
Ew.
I know.
You mean like ouchie Fauci?
Yeah.
Ew.
He
He's
came
so
out.
gross.
He came out. They try him out every once in a while.
I thought he was sort of like undercover now or
I
something.
thought so too. I thought maybe, after he got in that like scuffle with Rand Paul,
Yeah,
and it became kind of abundantly clear, like, wait, you guys created COVID in a lab,
I know.
and we have emails that prove it, and you were involved. But I would have thought that would have made him maybe go to jail or get like
A
unalived.
death sentence.
You know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
maybe go to that island that we've talked about where they
Right.
send people, like where Epstein's at and where Diddy's going to go.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
thought he was there. So he's back.
So he's back.
Ugh.
Or like the Q people might say, well, it's just his body double. He's actually already been killed, But anyways,
So what's the little weasel talking about now?
so he's saying there's going to be another outbreak. It's going to be a respiratory virus and it's going to kill like 15% of people.
15%.
Well, he didn't say that, but he said much more deadly, and that's kind of what they're hoping. You know what I'm saying?
Much more deadly than the cooties, which was
Mhm.
like 0.00002% of the population. So this one might be 0.02%.
Could be.
Or it might be 15%.
It might be. I
Uh,
think this time they're going to be like, we need to kill a lot more of these people,
wow.
especially the ones that said bad stuff about me. So, anyways, I think whenever he comes out and makes a statement like that, what you can only assume is, in my opinion, they're making something in a lab and they're cooking it up,
They're
and
cooking
we're
it
going
up.
to really be loving this next one.
So it's just probably not quite ready yet. They're
Mhm.
dialing it in right now as we speak,
I'm surprised he didn't say, wear your mask now just in case.
just in case it comes out tomorrow.
I mean, dude, I went to Office Depot yesterday, and the dude helping me was wearing a mask.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, I felt like asking. I was like, why? Why are you wearing a mask? I can tell it's like an identity thing. It's like wearing dreadlocks
I
when you're
know.
Bob Marley.
Well, you know what I see a lot too is I still see people wearing a mask with like it's down below their nose. And I'm like, I don't really get that because like before when I would see that, I'm like, okay, this person's just trying to like go along with the program to
Yeah.
like not get kicked out of the store or something. So they're just doing, but now when I see it, I'm like, I don't really understand. Like what
I think it's a cult behavior. And
they're
I think it's
they
a
just,
media thing.
yeah, they just keep it up.
I think the media has MK Ultra these people.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what's going on.
Yeah.
The mask, I think, is MK Ultra. I think it's like,
Totally.
I put on my mask. And they're like not really behind the wheel.
Yeah.
They're just putting on the mask and like rolling up their sleeves. You know what I'm saying? I wonder if they're still getting shots.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Gnarly.
So
This is like round 8.
or 10. I lost
Gnarly.
count. So what? Oh, and then there's the shedding. All the
Shedding.
shedding. How long does that last?
Oh God, who knows? I think that they're also feeding it through meat. I've heard like they're getting, they're trying to get
So
their
gross.
they're trying to get their stuff in us for a
No,
reason.
yeah.
There's something going on.
And when it's in the meat or the vegetables, like I heard that they're putting it in crops now. How do they control the dosing? You know what I mean?
I
So
don't
like
think they really care.
if you have like a big salad every night, then you might be getting like 8 boosters in a week or something.
I guess. And you're just like super boosted. I don't know. It seems really nefarious. But I think what I'm starting to kind of realize is the entire healthcare system is total weaponized.
Oh, totally.
There's a lot of weird dynamics. Like you and I both have elderly fathers, and what we've seen them go through is really indicative. Like my dad had kind of a weird thing back in 2006 where he just kind of like didn't really feel that good.
Mm-hmm.
And we went into the doctor and they said, oh, okay, well, you got pneumonia, but you also had a quote unquote cardiac event.
An
Right?
event.
You had an event.
What does that mean?
Yeah, it's like the carnival's in town or something. So, anyways, then he had a cardiac event. And then, so what that meant is, okay, well, you're going to die. So we need to rip your chest open and chuck veins from your legs in your chest.
Wow.
I thought that was a little invasive, but my dad was like convinced by the doctor. They come in and they do the sales pitch and they pretty much use fear porn. They say, you're going to die unless we do this.
That's what it is. It's like a sales pitch.
It totally
You know
is.
what I mean? Like, are they getting a commission from these companies?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we know they get kickbacks from like big pharma companies. So they're probably
I
getting.
think when they do one of these surgeries, I saw the bill.
They
My
get,
dad's
like, a
my
commission.
dad's heart surgery was like 350 large.
Oh, geez.
Now, he had good insurance, paid for most of it. He had to pay a little bit out of pocket, but for the most part, 350 grand. You know that the doctor who pushed it on them and got him to do it, it was like selling a luxury car.
Yeah.
He had a fat commission for that.
Totally. I mean, it's like how lawyers, get somebody a $200,000 settlement, but the lawyer actually keeps like 150 of it.
They get
You
like
know.
a big chunk of it,
Yeah.
right? Totally, that's what's going on. And then they get you once. So once they had him go do that surgery, which I felt like he didn't need to do, they could have said, oh, you know what? Your diet's high in cholesterol. Let's get you on it. This is the thing that people don't ever want to do is have it go on a diet and exercise.
No, they'd rather just take a pill.
Let me have like Gila Monster venom for my stomach. That'll be better.
Yeah.
That's
Quick
what
fix.
Ozempic is.
Mhm.
It's like, I'm just going to paralyze my stomach with Gila Monster venom. Then
Then I can eat as much as I want.
I don't have to ever diet or exercise.
Yeah.
But see, they could have done that with my dad. Just put him on like basically had him have a very strict diet and exercise regimen.
Mm-hmm.
Then he would have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, they did this invasive surgery, a quadruple bypass,
Wow.
which is gnarly.
Yeah.
Then he never got out of their hooks. He had to take a regimen of 10 pharmaceutical drugs every morning, 10 pharmaceutical drugs every night for almost 20 years. And then he finally died. And the last few years of his life was horrible. He had no quality of life. And it was just, I watched him kill my dad.
Yeah.
And basically, it was the healthcare system pushing their protocols. And you and I have kind of talked about how these people get indoctrinated.
They do. So they get indoctrinated. It's, this is interesting because
The healthcare workers we're talking
the
about,
workers
and the doctors.
The doctors, yeah. So it's funny. I've heard, there's so much controversy with like the education system, and how they brainwash and indoctrinate our kids. And I've heard like parents say, "Oh, my kid will." I'm homeschooling now, or we're in private school, but once my kid gets to middle school, he's already been his morals and everything have already been established, so he'll be fine. And I'm like, no, people get indoctrinated even in college, and that's
academia is totally an indoctrination.
Yeah, and that's what's happening big time in like medical school. In fact, I read that they cannot disagree with some of the stuff that they're being taught, or they won't get their medical degrees.
And that makes sense because it's an orthodoxy.
It is.
It's
because
a religion.
If they are allowed to disagree with like what they're being taught in school, then possibly they may disagree, 5 years from now when they're in their practice.
Like if they ever came to the conclusion, like maybe abortions at the rate of like 500,000 a year might be a little much. They'd be, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to be a doctor.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to say stuff like that.
Or they might question like, hey, what's in this concoction that you want us to inject into the population? Yeah. They might start questioning things like that.
Or what if what if a doctor said, you know what? I don't think I'm going to chop this guy's dick off. I understand that he thinks he's a girl, but I'm going to talk with him and take our time, and we'll take it one day at a time before I just go chop his dick off.
Yeah.
But they'll be like, that's bad. We get a lot of money for chopping dicks off around here and chopping tits off. So you need to just get on board.
If somebody asks for it, just do it.
If they're 14 and they don't want their tits anymore, you chop them off.
so awful.
It is bad.
Oh my
But
God.
it's kind of like this John D. Rockefeller system
Oh,
where they said, you know what, let's just take, well, because we know humans are 200 million years old. So let's take 200 million years of healthcare practice and just call that alternative. And the new pharmaceutical based, like
oil based.
oil based. That sounds really weird too. Like, okay, so this guy, it's kind of like Bill Gates. He's like a computer guy, but he's telling me about my health.
Yeah.
Before we had like John D. Rockefeller, he's like an oil guy.
Yeah.
And now he's telling me about my health. And he's like,
It's weird.
by the way, we've got these pills that are made from my oil. That sounds so good.
It's kind of like canola oil.
It is. It sounds so good. Can I have another like gasoline pill, please? But so
That's probably what they are.
so weird. So, like, that's what everything is. And you have to prescribe their pharma drugs, which are all like John D. Rockefeller. And then they also do like chemotherapy and like gnarly surgeries and give people deadly shots that who knows what's in them. And it seems like the healthcare system is all people who are forced to come to Jonestown and drink the Kool-Aid.
Right. And they just take the pills because a lot of them want the quick fix, and they don't really like stop and read the side effects, because
You might unalive yourself by hanging.
yeah, a lot of these pills have side effects, but then there's usually another pill to fix the side effect. I don't know if you can fix the suicide by hanging, though. You probably can't fix that one.
They have an anti-unaliving pill. And it's just like every time you're about to hang yourself, you go, oh, wait a second. Suddenly, I'm pretty happy about my life.
Suddenly, I don't want to use that rope anymore.
It's so weird. Like, because I'm wondering if that too, oh my God, that's an epiphany.
Uh-oh.
Epiphany. Okay, so they get you to do some horrific procedure, or they convince you that you need pharma drugs for some aspect of your health. Those pharma drugs are mind control.
Totally.
All of them.
Yeah.
Every single one.
They are.
And they're making you behave in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that gets back to kind of like, the Orange County luxury stores. Like, it's driving behavior and I think corralling.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the pharma drugs are doing the same thing.
Well, it's obvious that they can make these drugs do certain things to your mind. I mean, it's not a conspiracy theory to actually read the side effects and then realize that if one of the side effects of a certain drug is suicide by hanging, then they can actually make a drug that will make you want to hang yourself. So then
because they'll even say on like you'll be watching like Fox News and Hannity will go, we'll be right back after these messages, and then next thing you know, it's a commercial of some drug telling you suicidal thoughts is a side effect. So if there are thoughts that are a side effect, that's mind control.
Yeah. So if they can make a drug that has that particular thing as a side effect, then they can make a drug have like something else that you're going to think or do as a side effect.
Yeah.
And if they know that it's doing that, why don't they take that aspect out of the drug? That particular aspect. Why wouldn't they just remove that part? Like,
I think that's the main thing.
Yeah.
The drug is not supposed to help you in any way. It's supposed to control you.
I think they like the side effects because if it has like a certain amount of side effects, then you're probably going to take some more different pharmaceuticals to counteract those side effects.
That's the whole thing.
And then you're on this chain. It's like a chain reaction. You're spinning your wheels, just one drug after the other to fix what the last drug did.
And I'm wondering if diet and exercise is not the cure for all of it, really.
Yeah.
Diet and exercise. And then, pretty much you're going to be good to go and you can live a long life because we have a lot of the accoutrements, even in our collapsing civilization, you can take good care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't promote that. They, kind of like getting back to Ozempic, it's like, well, I'm really fat. And I don't want to make any kind of changes to my behavior.
No.
Because I'm kind of out of control.
Yeah.
Like, I really can't control myself around food. And I hate exercise. I like to just kind of lay around, But I don't like being fat. So what I think I want to do is I think I just want to inject some Gila Monster venom into my stomach and then it'll just paralyze my stomach. And then I don't have to do any changes. I can still just eat like a pig and lay around. And I'm going to lose weight. And it's so good. I think that's the wrong mentality. I don't think you're supposed to do that. I think what you're supposed to do is like maybe change your lifestyle, you know?
It's a great point.
Oh my God. It's like my friend's daughter. My friend's daughter is so obese that she has to take a rascal around Disneyland.
What? Are you kidding me?
She has to take a rascal.
How old is she?
Well, now I think she's like toward her late 20s, but like when she was like in her early 20s, she was too obese to walk around Disneyland.
That's horrible.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like you're too fat to don't even go to Disneyland.
You're too fat to go to Disneyland.
You got to earn Disneyland.
That is horrible.
And like at a young age to be so fat, like walking from Space Mountain over to like Star Tours is too much.
That reminds me of all those characters in that that Disney Wally. You know, where they're getting fatter.
They're just on the cruise ship eating.
And they're all in their little carts, sucking on their milkshake or whatever it was that they were eating.
And so I think that's the medical system is like, that's the kind of behavior we kind of like.
Yeah.
Because those
self-destructive.
Those kind of people are going to be like, I'm really fat and I like it. And they're going to be
I'll take this drug because it's going to help.
We're just going to inject this in your stomach. They don't care.
No.
Like to me.
That's kind of like gnarly.
I kind of would be like hesitant.
Injecting your stomach?
Yeah. And like, what am I injecting? This is going in my stomach.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry. It's Gila monster venom, but don't worry.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
You're going to lose 10 pounds.
You're going to probably lose 10 pounds. And then you see like the after effects. Have you seen some of these celebrities who take it?
I know.
They're all gaunt.
They look, what's that called? Fat skinny or skinny fat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where they're kind of.
You know who had that? John Goodman.
Oh, totally.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Because he was so robust.
Yeah. And he looked good like that, actually.
I liked him as a robust, big guy.
Yeah.
But now he's like gaunt
and
jowly.
Yeah.
Like they've got all this extra stuff.
Yeah. But it doesn't look healthy.
No. I don't think the healthcare system wants you healthy.
I don't think so. So going back to Fauci, one of our favorite topics.
Yes, they're going to have another outbreak coming. It's going to be respiratory.
Another respiratory?
It's going to be respiratory.
They can't even come up with a new idea? Or is this going to be... So I have a question. Do you think... did he mention like what any of the side effects were going to be from this respiratory thing? Or what the symptoms?
You know how he does it. He does it kind of like he did in 2017 when he goes when Trump was getting inaugurated, right? In 2017, he's just coming into office and he's like, "This president is gonna encounter an outbreak of unprecedented scope."
Interesting how it's going to happen again under Trump again.
Yeah. Because Trump, I think, is their boy for ushering in all of the World Health Organization measures. Because you remember World Health Organization?
Oh my gosh, I might have just had an epiphany.
Epiphany.
So you know how before they were saying like they were all against Trump and that's why they brought in this cooties to shut everything down? What if
Trump's their boy?
What you say, Trump is their boy, and he brought in the shot, which he still brags about, and now they're going to bring something else in so he can usher in another new thing.
That's it.
Oh my gosh.
That's it.
Oh my God.
I think that's what's going on. And so he's their boy to usher in all of the stuff. And, Trump is like, "Oh, Operation Warp Speed, get the shot. I got the shot." I don't think he got the shot.
No.
Don't you think if Trump got the shot, it would have been on the news, like him getting injected?
Like they did with Biden, like 8 times?
Yeah. They would show it. He never got the shot. And if he did, he got some placebo.
I doubt if Melania took that shot.
No. Those elites aren't taking that stuff. This is all just for the
masses.
This is, let's start culling, because, remember Bill Gates, he always is right there looming in the background going, if we do a really good job with healthcare.
And vaccines. We can reduce the population.
And he said that in no uncertain terms.
He said that.
That's what he said.
It's not like you have to read between the lines. That's actually what he said.
Yeah, he started off the sentence by saying, our population's getting close to 9 billion. And, we can bring that down with healthcare and reproductive rights. So it's like, well, so vaccines and killing babies? Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what they kind of prescribe.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
it's pretty obvious.
So Fauci's now, kind of like he did in 2017, kind of given us this
Warning.
foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing.
He's foreshadowing what's coming,
Mhm.
right? And then Trump is now in there in Doge and everything. He's taking care of everything. And he's going to be like, okay, this time we're going to handle this right. And I have a feeling it's going to be like full on martial law.
I wonder if, because you know how like a lot of the scientists and people that we were listening to, like during the whole cooties fiasco, when they were explaining like what was in those pokey pokes and how dangerous they were, and they were saying like between 3 and 5 years, the people that got those are going to be probably dead
Yeah, yeah.
or very like
They're going to
sick.
be unalived soon.
Yeah, we're kind of coming up on that time
Mhm.
frame. I'm wondering if this new illness that's coming out is actually going to be a new illness at all, or is it maybe just going to be the aftermath and the effects of what those pokey pokes did to a big
Yeah.
part of the
No,
population?
I think that's a good question because I think Fauci is
He's going to have a way to cover up
what
what he
he's doing
did.
is he's saying something's coming up, but what's coming up is a new program. Because remember the World Health Organization, they were kind of like pushing this treaty about 8 months ago, and they really wanted to get it signed. In that the treaty said we have unprecedented powers that supersede your constitution. And if we decide that there's a pandemic, then you're going to do what we say. And we'll have soldiers come in and make you take shots.
Mhm.
And if you don't, we'll have soldiers take you to, FEMA camps if you don't wear your mask and be a good little slave. So I think it's not about a disease. It's not about a disease. It's about control.
Mhm.
So when you hear Fauci coming out, you got to think, okay, not disease,
What is he trying to
control. Like, why do they use the medical system to control us? Because it's fear.
Mhm.
Because people are terrified. If you go, you might be sick. People are like freak out about that.
Yeah.
Kind of like Ellison. What's his first name?
Yeah, when Larry Ellison,
Larry.
when he said we're going to have a blood test to determine if you might get cancer one day,
Yep.
and then we're going to develop a pokey poke for you within
Yeah.
48 hours so you won't get that.
So you have these MK Ultra people all across America. They're going to go submit to that. And if Larry Ellison says, you've got precancer, you're going to get cancer and die soon.
Maybe like in a couple years.
Could be. And they're going to be like, what do I got to do?
Yeah.
Anything.
They'll do it.
Because I'm afraid. And when you're afraid, you're very suggestible.
It's true. Fear is the biggest way to control people.
So that's why they use the medical system to corral us into their little pens
Mhm.
because they're like, oh, you're going to take your chance with our scary virus? Oh, yeah, I'm going to. Okay. Like, I'm like Pat Benatar. Hit me with your best shot.
And we don't mean pokey pokes.
No. Yeah, exactly. Don't hit me with your best shot in that term. Yeah, that's a good point. I wonder if she took the shot and that was like her
Probably.
theme song. She's
Yeah.
like, hit me with your best vaccine. I could totally see that because have you noticed how all of the artists have come out?
We're all like super like liberal. I call them liberal hippies. It's super weird because they were all like the ones that were like in the 60s and 70s. They were like, down with the man and everything. And now they're like,
like hurry up and take your shot.
they're like, what do I need to do, Daddy Government?
We were talking about Dave Grohl.
Yeah,
Dave Grohl's like full on woke, right?
totally.
And he's like, go get the shot. And then his drummer died.
I know, like right afterwards.
He was unalived. And it's like, well, could that have been the shot? I immediately was like, that guy probably took the shot because he was like drumming one of their songs, which was like, looked like he was in pretty good shape.
Mhm.
He had no shirt on and he was drumming really gnarly. And then he died.
Mm-hmm.
You don't usually just like unalive after drumming like a heavy metal song.
I know.
But he did.
Yeah.
So, and then Dave like turns out like, oh, by the way, I had an extramarital affair, I had a kid, and I hid that from my wife. So it's kind of like the people who are woke are kind of like scumbags. I'm kind of noticing
They're gnarly.
They're bad.
Hmm.
They're the kind of people who don't really have any integrity, but they come out and they do virtue signals to act
Yeah,
like they're good.
they push all this stuff onto everybody else, and the people that are followers like do what they think that those people are doing, but those people don't have any integrity, like you
And I
said.
don't think they're taking the
No,
shots.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so
so.
either.
I think that the elites are pushing the shots, but they don't have to take the shots.
Hmm.
And that's why I don't think they're really releasing gnarly viruses because the elites would probably be susceptible.
That is another epiphany. I think you're right.
Yeah.
So they're not even releasing viruses at all.
No.
That's a
What I think's going
that's
on,
an
because
interesting
remember,
theory.
so they've got these bioweapons labs.
Hmm.
A bioweapon doesn't necessarily have to be like a virus.
Right.
It could be the vaccines that they're working on.
Hmm.
So what they have to do is they have to come out with the cover story to get everybody to get a
Oh yeah,
vaccine.
yeah. The vaccine wasn't made for the virus.
The vaccine has other stuff in it.
The virus was made for the vaccine.
Yeah. And the
Mm.
virus wasn't actually made because
It was marketing.
didn't they say, well, they've never actually like isolated COVID.
Well, I still think that, it was all very coincidental how it seemed to happen at the same time that they put up all those 5G towers when
Yeah.
we were all locked in our houses. And, the cooties has the same symptoms as radiation poisoning.
I
And
got sick with something
yeah, I did
and
too.
it was a weird sick
It
I've never had before.
it was really weird. And sometimes I get sort of like relapses of these weird symptoms.
Yeah.
And it's kind of strange because they have like radiation poisoning symptoms.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I'm thinking it wasn't a virus that they poisoned
they
us.
poisoned us. And did you know that the there's been like a huge outbreak or pandemic or whatever you want to call it every time radio frequencies have increased in society?
Whoa, trip out.
Yeah. So it was Dr. Cowden does a lot of really interesting research and talks about this, but actually, the 1918 flu
Yeah.
happened at the same time that they, I guess, put out this new radio system in the world. And it's been like that throughout history.
And what's interesting is the Spanish flu had nothing to do with Spain.
Yeah.
It started on a military base in Kansas.
Oh,
Kind of weird.
that's weird.
Like, why would a military base have like the beginning of a huge outbreak? And apparently, a lot of people died from that. A lot of people. I think it was like 100 million people across around the world died from the Spanish flu, which was gnarly. It was a big so. But what were they dying of?
Exactly.
It was it a poison, and maybe it wasn't a contagious thing. All I'm saying is I'm thinking our healthcare system's out to kill us, and
Hmm.
you don't want to get involved. Did you hear? Clint Eastwood came out just the other day, and he's like 94 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, he's an old guy, and he was like, I almost died from taking my cholesterol meds and my heart meds that they're pushing on me in this healthcare system. He said, I got out of them, I got off them, and I feel great, and I recommend you do the same. And, the one thing about Clint is I've always felt like he was kind of out of the cult.
Yeah.
I always felt like he was, because his movies kind of flew in the face of the cult mentality.
Hmm.
And I'm wondering if that's like his final, because now he's so old and close to death, he doesn't care about just completely saying, F you to the cult. I think he's saying F you to the cult. And I think the medical system is the cult's primary
Mode of operation.
their modus operandi.
Yeah, that's interesting because it's so easy for them to use that as a means of controlling what's happening because all they have to do is control the behavior of the people in it, like the doctors and the nurses. And I think they've got a grasp on that because most of the doctors and nurses are completely brainwashed and indoctrinated. And that happens in medical school.
Like they're taught woke
They're taught woke,
ideology.
and they're taught, they can't question what these things are that they're being taught. And I know this is true because I've mentioned this before. Um, I I don't believe that all of these doctors are doing it just to get those bonuses, because we know they get bonuses. Did you know that a doctor gets like a $50,000 bonus for every kid that finishes the
All of the
entire
vaccine schedule.
CDC schedule of vaccines? Yeah. So they don't like the people
And
that,
RFK Jr. came out and said, I support that.
yeah, after he was so
Actually,
anti-vax.
it's like, that's our health and health.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound healthy.
No.
Why are you running our health system?
But yeah, so they indoctrinate these people. And I know that it's not all about the money for all of them, because I know a few doctors personally who um, do this very same thing with their own children. And I don't think that they would do it with their own children unless they believed what they were doing was the right thing to do. You know what I mean? So
Or they know the ramifications of going against it.
true.
Because if they know the ramifications going against it, because look at what happened to Dr. Simone Gold.
Hmm.
It was kind of weird how there was a lot of, I remember you and I talked about it
Yeah.
when it was going on.
Mm.
She kind of seemed like,
She was playing both sides.
she was kind of in the cult in a weird
She
way.
was.
But
She was kind of sketchy.
there was other doctors like, okay, let's take what's the black lady? What's her name? Dr. Stella Emanuel?
Yeah, with a really thick accent.
Yeah. Was that her name? Stella?
Yeah.
She came out and was like, ivermectin works and hydroxychloroquine works, right? Which is weird. Why would those work?
Hmm.
Those seem like they might be anti-poison drugs.
They're really old and really cheap, and they're like anti-parasitic.
Wow. So what if that was kind of the nature of what they were kind of exposing us to?
Well, that
That doesn't sound like a virus. That sounds like a parasite.
yeah, which is something they can put in stuff like water, which makes me think about that whole theory that Dr. Brian Artist talked about, where
Yeah.
it was in the water.
He kind of had an epiphany,
Mhm.
remember?
And maybe it was activated by 5G too. I think there were probably a lot of different things in place to
5G was
make
like
it.
thrown out there kind of under the table.
It was
Like,
probably steering it, you know.
I think so. And the shots just made it that much worse. So
They
they
activated
probably,
that
yeah,
activated it
they probably poisoned a few people. And all they really had to do was poison a few people
to
to
get
get
the
us,
hysteria going.
and then go get your shot.
Yeah. So a few people get sick and then they go, "Oh my God, there's been a breakout." Remember how they just talked about the what was it? Cholera, or no, not cholera. What's that horrible disease where you bleed out of your eyes? Um,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's
from Africa.
they just had it in Africa,
Yeah.
right? It's oh man, I'll think of it.
So there was an
Ebola.
Ebola, and they
It
said,
even sounds African.
yeah, they said there was an outbreak, and it was like one person or something got it somewhere, and they were like,
And
"Oh,
it's
we've
always
got
like
to."
right by one of our BSL-4 biolabs.
Yeah,
It's like, well, right in the region of our, because you know what I think they do is they go out to the populace and they go, we're going to inject you guys with this new stuff. And they give people Ebola just to kind of see what happens.
yeah.
I think that's kind of like our modus operandi.
5 people get sick, and
Yeah.
and they go, "There's been an outbreak."
There's an outbreak.
And now
we started it, but there's an outbreak.
Everybody has to get us this pokey poke, and it's going to save you. And
that's their modus operandi. They create the problem and then they have the solution. And the solution is always shots and 15-minute cities.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like that's kind of what's going on. Mm-hmm. It's always a problem that we create. So what Fauci's kind of heralding is he's alluding to, he's like, okay, because, it's not like, oh, he's just a good guy and he's just speculating. We need to be careful. No.
Even though there's a few lost people who think that, actually.
Probably.
Yeah.
I saw the dude at Office Depot and he was just like, can I help you? And I was like,
Fauci said, wear your mask.
Oh my God. I was like, dude, you're wearing a mask, bro. What the hell? Like, I'm really wondering what the fuck is going through these people's minds wearing a mask these days. What the hell could possibly be making them put on a mask in the morning unless it's MK Ultra?
It's MK Ultra.
They're just full on Sirhan and just, oh, I wear my mask.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
funny.
anyways, when Fauci's coming out, he's not saying, for the good of everybody, I'm just saying we need to be ready for the next outbreak. He's saying, okay, we're going to have another hoax, and this hoax is coming out. And we got our boy Trump in there who's going to handle the hoax the way we want him to.
And this hoax is going to be even like bigger than the last one.
The first hoax
That was just
that was a huddle. The first hoax was
a
the
dress
huddle.
rehearsal.
Exactly. This is going to be the real one. And I think they've also probably built profiles on like bad people like
I
you and
know.
me who are like they're protesting. Like, wait, were you guys actually like out on the street corner, like telling people don't do that? We're gonna have to like make sure that you don't do that this time.
We're going to have to wrangle you.
Somebody's gonna have to do something. Yeah. So I think that might be kind of what's going on. But I think also in conjunction with that is people are kind of waking up.
Mm-hmm.
And the medical system is kind of losing its credibility.
It is.
And a lot more smart people are saying, I don't want anything to do with the healthcare system.
So this is kind of gnarly. Do you think that because of all that, because we know that's true, do you think they will actually make some gnarly virus that's like really super bad and it is going to kill 15% of the population?
No, I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think what they're creating is the next poison, the next poison, like artists said.
Right.
They're gonna put something out there and they're gonna poison a few people. But I think what they've learned is
they don't really have to poison that many people.
Not many.
Yeah.
They could just poison one kind of metropolitan area and a bunch of people get sick and then just show footage on CNN
of people like dropping in the streets.
Yeah, sick. And then it looks like shaking like they were in China. And then
they'll put out a casting call for
you have people walking like in a state of terror right now. That's what I think a lot of these walkers are.
Yeah.
They're completely paralyzed by fear and they've got drugs and media. So
and
they're like
K Ultra.
So when you come out and you show them a video of someone sick, they're going to freak out and they're going to do whatever they have to do.
True.
But what's interesting is Trump pulled us out of the World Health Organization. So I'm wondering if that is I don't know. I don't know how to make a read on that because the World Health Organization seems like it's really on board with all of this stuff. Maybe a lot of Trump supporters kind of got red pilled from COVID.
Yeah.
So he has to maybe placate his base by acting like he's not down. But notice how when COVID was ushered in, it was all of a sudden, oh, here's Dr. Fauci and Deborah Birx, and they're going to take over. I think that'll probably be what happens.
Do you think she's coming back?
Ew.
Scarf lady?
Probably.
Oh, she's so annoying.
Because she's the face that we all know.
Yeah.
So they're going to be probably trotted out again.
But we don't trust these people. I mean,
I don't, but some people do.
What percentage of the population do you think actually trusts Fauci at this point?
I think everyone who got the shot.
They have to trust him.
I think they're going to trust him.
They have to trust him because
if 100 million people got the shot,
if they don't trust him, they are basically admitting to themselves they made a mistake.
Maybe you should go back to the hotel room. You're losing all your money here at the gambling table. Go back to your hotel room. Nope, I'm doubling down.
Yeah.
I'm going all in.
God.
That's what they're going to do.
Yeah. I think there might be a few that can admit that they made a mistake and will go the other direction. It's
going to suck to do that. It's going to suck. And people don't like doing stuff that sucks.
Right.
They want to do something that feels good.
Mm-hmm.
So if, because it's going to, I personally would be bummed if I had to admit that I got duped and took a shot.
Mm-hmm.
I would be bummed.
I would too.
It's better to say, oh, no, I was right. And here's the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was right. I think that's going to be the narrative. They're going to be like, all the people who got the shot, they're protected from this new one. That could be part of their narrative.
That might be part of the marketing.
Yeah.
But don't you think they want them to get a new shot? Or
they're going to say, go get a booster, but you're better off because of the 9 that you took. They're going to try.
Oh, you're right. That's totally what they're going to say. And then all you people that didn't do it, you better go take this one because this is really deadly.
Yeah, this one's really bad. And you were a bad, bad little slave last time. This time you better do it. And they're going to have probably propped up death numbers.
Oh, yeah.
And then the propped up death numbers are going to be their ammo to lock things down like arrest you in your homes again, because that's what people really love to do.
I know.
Like now we're going to come back into probably an era where you go into Trader Joe's and some 24-year-old goes, wear your mask, you got to leave.
Yeah,
They
totally.
love that.
They do. It's their 5 minutes of power.
Yes, you have to leave. You cannot buy food. You have to go out.
Ooh, I wonder if things get really gnarly and they bring in martial law, if they'll actually start doing stuff like that. Like
Yeah,
not actually make it so you can't buy food unless you comply with a certain thing.
probably. Because I think
Everybody will have to have a QR code on their phone and
they crunched the data on COVID and they probably looked at all of the behavior and all of the stores and everything that happened during COVID. And COVID worked out really good for them in terms of consolidating. So a lot of small businesses and restaurants went out of business. And we got really into this mode of the 1% got a lot richer. And there's only a certain. So now when the next one comes along, that will just be more and more emphasized, I think.
right.
It's about corralling and it's also about consolidating power.
Okay, so because we aren't Debbie Downers and because we like to talk about solutions, what
Yeah.
should we do
Well, I
to
think you need to
keep
be
this from happening?
vocal. You need to be vocal and resist
And more so than the last time.
more so than last time, even. And I think we we were effective last time.
Yeah,
I mean,
we were because I think by a lot of people like saying, no,
yeah,
I'm not going to wear that mask and no, I'm not going to do this. I think it made their whole thing weaken. They weren't able to keep it going
what's the
forever.
tail of the tape of COVID? I think the cool people resisted it. The lame people went along with it.
Right.
And now the people who went along with it are considered lame now. Like you take a band like The Offspring. They were kind of cool back in the 90s. A lot of people thought they were cool. I thought they were cool. But then they came out and said they fired their bass player for not taking the pokey poke.
Oh, God.
And I think a lot of people went, ugh. And now their album sales are tanking and, well, album sales, but like even their concerts, just not as in demand. I think the cool people are going, you guys are lame now. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to be the zeitgeist. We need to be the cool people that people go, you know what? I don't want to be aligned with those lame people. And I think also it's about being very vocal.
Well, I think a lot of people are seeing also that, they do know that they made a mistake and they didn't have to go along. And if a lot of those people hadn't agreed and complied, the whole thing would have fallen apart way sooner. And now there's like, how they fired all those doctors and nurses who didn't want to comply. Well, I heard from because I have some friends who are some of those people, and they're like all getting hired back. They want them back now. They don't care. Now they don't care that they didn't do it.
And maybe those people will, instead of the red pill, take a blue pill this time and be like, you know what? That was too much of a disruption. I almost lost my Tesla. I'm going to go ahead and just go along this.
Well, or I think maybe there will be more of those people that they won't go along with the next one. And then they'll convince some of the other ones not to go along with it either, because they'll say, look, if we all don't do it, it's not going to work. You know
Yeah,
what I
no,
mean?
that's what the white pill is enough people saying no
Yeah.
because they can't
There's more
enforce
of
it.
there's more of us than them.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
can't enforce it. The only way they can enforce it is
Is
if
if
we go
everybody
along
says
with it.
okay.
And I remember that was kind of what was going on during COVID.
Yeah.
Is so many people just blindly went along
No
with it.
backbone. No
No backbone at all.
Just
So
like
then,
whatever,
yeah, and then that kind of made it so they were like, as a matter of fact, we talked about this before. COVID was probably a psychological experiment, and they were probably like, "Whoa, look at how compliant they were."
This is working.
I know. They were probably like surprised at how many people went along with it.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of a stupid story.
Yeah.
It
was really stupid.
It was really dumb. It was like some bat and some like wet market.
And then it was like, the death rate was all you had to do was look up the death numbers of like the flu for like all the years before.
Yeah.
And literally like the numbers were the same.
Yeah.
In fact, I think they were even lower that year.
In order to go along with COVID, you had to stay locked in your CNN bubble.
Yeah. And then
And
like
even Fox kind of.
you
Remember, Fox would have that one um, doctor come on, and he was kind of always like, "Well, you should get the shots, but the shots are good. They're gonna be keeping you from the hospital." It's like, well, you're just like the other side of the controlled
yeah,
opposition telling us to. So I think in order for you to go along with the next hoax, you're going to need to be completely locked in the bubble.
you are. And there are some people like that.
There are.
But I think there's more people now that are awake.
Oh, yeah.
I think they woke up from that whole fiasco.
No, I think that's what also always happens. I'm starting to kind of see a trend here. The cult has all these plans and they keep getting thwarted,
Right. It seems like a lot of their plans, in fact, all of them, end up not working out,
not working out.
you
And it's
know?
because the only reason it doesn't work out is there's too many people like you and me that are saying, wait a minute, no. And I'm going to go tell other people no.
And also, like, their plans are really stupid and lame, and they don't
Yeah.
really make sense, and they're like really retarded. Like, remember the big push for paper straws a
Oh,
few years
God, I
ago?
have one right here.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Like that's really the problem. Where China and India can do whatever they want,
yeah,
but we have to wear,
you should have a paper
we
straw
have to
for
do
your
paper
drink, and
straws.
you need to have like five of them to finish your drink because they get soggy. And then like remember the plastic bags? They they wanted everybody to bring their own bags to the stores,
Yeah.
so they made all the plastic bags like so. I think this is a California thing or a Southern California thing. They made all the plastic bags that you get in these stores super thick, like it would be like the size of 10 bags, 10
Yeah,
other
yeah,
bags.
yeah, yeah.
They made them super thick and heavy. And I'm like, okay, if they're trying to save plastic and not have as much, why are they making them thicker? Well, I guess their reasoning for that was like, oh, we're going to make these reusable. So you'll bring back your plastic bag. And so, but what's happening now? Like everybody's just throwing away the plastic bags.
And those are less biodegradable.
Yeah. So like I was in another state recently and I got a plastic bag from a chain grocery store and it was thinner than the plastic bags.
Yeah, I noticed.
It's like so
I
this
went to Vaughn's recently and I was like, this is like kind of a heavy duty plastic bag.
it's super heavy and thick. Like you're using like 8 plastic bags, you know.
Yeah, all of their stuff is stupid.
All their plans just don't really make sense and they're stupid. And so I think we
How
just
about like eating crickets? Like,
I'm not down with that.
how stupid do you have to be to like be thinking
How
like that's a solution?
Yeah, you got to be as dumb as a box of rocks.
You
Like,
know,
who
like
wants
Robert Downey Jr., he was just like, oh, it's cricket powder. It's cool, you know?
you know what? Okay, so speaking of that, you really need to read labels on food because they're sneaking that stuff in.
I've heard.
They are. Like, if you read, so I like to read labels about the food that I'm going to buy, and um, they even put it in organic stuff. So
And it's
I
probably
checked out.
not called like cricket powder. It's
No,
probably called something.
well, like there's like this organic ice cream, and I was looking at the label and there was like locust bean paste in it. And I'm like, why would you put that in ice cream? Organic. I guess the
I've
locusts are
heard that
organic.
the exoskeleton of some of these insects is actually toxic to
It's
us.
actually really bad for you. I think that's another way that they're going to poison us.
I think that's kind of what's going on.
Yeah.
But all of their plans are stupid and all of their plans get found out. But the only way they get found out is by people speaking out. And I think that's why there's this media push to get people to become zombies.
Hmm.
Because look at how many zombies there are. And we can, the white pill,
Well, a lot of people are already zombies from all the pharmaceuticals.
the white pill is we can wake them up.
Yeah.
The black pill is there's so many of them.
There's so many.
And they are the perfect people to just go along with the next hoax because they're already medicated and they're brainwashed. It's kind of like two things.
Yeah.
They're medicated and brainwashed and they're sick.
And they'll eat the crickets that are going to make
They'll
them
do
sicker.
that.
Yeah, because they
Yeah.
think it's the right thing to do.
You know what they'll do is these people are already drinking Dr. Pepper and eating Doritos mostly. So they'll just put cricket powder in there for them.
Yeah. An extra ingredient. It's delicious.
And then they can inject it with their own Ozempic too.
Yeah. When they
So
get too fat from their Doritos, they'll just put an
Ozempic will
extra
become like
shot.
gnarly. They'll have extra stuff in there for them, But I think that's the whole point of our show, right? Like the healthcare thing is one of the aspects, but what we're trying to do is wake people up. What are we waking people up from? I mean, if you think about when did we wake up, what does that imply? Kind of a stupor, like a sleep, like a spell that people are under,
Right.
And you have to wake people up from the spell. Why? Because if we're all under the spell, they're going to give us deadly shots.
Exactly.
And they're going to corral us into their 15-minute cities.
And the more people that are under the spell, the more dangerous it is for everybody.
Yeah.
If more people wake up, then more people will be not complying and the spell won't work. They
I
won't be able
think
to get away with
that's
it.
a good point because it's not just like you can't just be self-absorbed and you can't just be like, well, I'm awake, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not enough.
No.
You need to actually go out and it's kind of hard, but you have to care about other people. It's hard because sometimes you see these people walking around like these zombies and you're just like, I don't really care. I'm glad that you're just going to go and self-destruct, but you kind of have to care about them and you have to be like, no, 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 no. That is a human being that needs to be jolted out of their stupor. And we need to kind of care about these people. I think that's kind of the white pill. And I think if COVID taught us anything, it's that we have some work to do because they outnumber us. The people who went along outnumber the people who didn't.
Right.
And that's not good.
No. I think the scale is tipping though. And I'm kind of wondering if maybe we're like, instead of 2/3 one direction and 1/3 the other direction, if it's flip flopped.
Could be.
Yeah.
It could be. And I think also you're seeing the cult kind of freaking out. You're seeing some evidence of them kind of like, like Fauci coming out and making this announcement is
They're
kind of
getting
like,
desperate.
yeah, it's kind of a chess move. It's like, you better not get out of line.
We've got another thing coming.
There's something else coming and you better stay in line. So, because fear, and then you have the crazy censorship going on where you can't talk about that one group of people.
Do you think that's why people are wearing masks?
Yeah.
Again, because like Fauci's like scaring people and stuff?
Yeah. They're convinced that there's like
something coming.
Well, because he talked about that in his announcement. He was like, what we have going on right now is we got this
We've got pre-pandemic.
Yes.
We're in a pre-pandemic.
Well, because they're talking about like the pigs and the chickens and the cows are getting affected.
Oh.
And it's
so don't eat.
So
just eat crickets.
The narrative is the virus has mutated. So it's kind of like a horror movie, where the evil entity has mutated and now it's able to jump to mammals. You need to be afraid. So I think what you're seeing is people are being told there's an egg shortage because of bird flu. So there's stuff going around. Wear your mask. Well, first of all, it's been completely debunked, and we've gone over this over and over again. Masks do nothing to protect you, but they're doing it. So you have people who are kind of trapped in that mentality still, and we need to like shake them. No, wake up.
Totally. You know what? My mom brought up a good point, asked me a question the other day. She was like, how can there be an egg shortage, but we still have chicken in the grocery stores? Yeah. You know what I mean?
How's that?
I don't know.
It doesn't make sense.
Kind of weird.
It's kind of like a lot of their stuff. It just any kind of just
people don't think of
you ask a couple of questions and it completely breaks down. But people are like, okay, I'm not asking any questions. I'm not asking what's in the infusion. I'm rolling up my sleeve. That's how you have to be.
Yeah.
You have to be. That lady is the prototype.
Right.
And that's why there's a lot of hope. That's the white pill. The white pill is all you really have to do is ask a couple of questions and people will start to go, yeah, you're right. So I think that's what's going on. I think, so the white pill, we've been talking a lot about JFK and the assassination of JFK. And I'm starting to put together a thesis. My thesis is this. When they killed JFK, they took over our country. That was a coup.
It was a coup.
And they took over.
And we've been in the aftermath for all these years. Like 60 years.
And now they're clinging with white knuckles to power, but they're about to lose it. And it's kind of like in 1984, that movie, Dark Crystal with the Skeksis, and he's holding on to the wand of power, but he's dying. But he's like, I'm still emperor. And then he dies, like with the wand of power. I think what's going on is the Skeksis are dying.
Mm-hmm.
And the wand of power is going to be passed, but they're clinging to their last vestiges of power. And what they want to do is try to take out as many of us as they can while they lose power. So if I'm reading the tea leaves, I think what's going on is that empire is collapsing. That whatever 50 years of that we've been having, that's collapsing. And what they're saying is, well, we're just going to destroy as much as we possibly can while we go down, and we're going to take as many of you down as possible. And the people that are going to go down are these zombies, because they're going to go and get their shots, and they're going to get into the healthcare system in one way, shape, or form, whether it's Ozempic or some pharma drug that makes them unalive themselves by hanging. There's all these weird ways that you can get like unalived now.
Right.
So I think that's the white pill. The white pill is just be patient, wake as many people up as you can, and
don't be a follower.
Don't be a follower, but let these people kind of their collapse is coming. They're in free fall. They're going to lose it, and then so get ready for. I feel like we're getting ready for a renaissance. There's the new thing about to start.
Yeah.
And this new thing is going to be just, because we're going to see all the unjust things that have taken place over the last 60 years. And we're going to be able to use that as like a template. Like, okay, that's what we don't want. Like one of the things I always said is every politician should wear a body cam all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be on camera 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Oh my gosh.
Every
Nobody would want that job.
Yeah. You have to, because that's what it entails. Okay. So even if you're in the city council, you have to now be surveilled all the whole time, your whole life, because you're not allowed to go do any secret meetings, and your bank account is monitored by people. And so you can't get any money unless everyone knows about it. So once you get one donation, now you have to wear that like NASCAR. You know, like when you go on NASCAR, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like now you have to wear that like when you're in interviews and everything, and everyone knows, oh, did Fives give you a big donation? Okay, now we know who you represent. Totally. Because that's how our government is. They represent these interests. Mm-hmm. And I think what's like you're talking about, this renaissance is going to be cool, because people are going to know that that's lame and can't let corporations buy people. And then we're going to be able to maybe have a new cool thing take place worldwide. What if that's what's going to happen?
I think that's a total possibility, and I think it might happen. We just need people to realize that, once again, there's more of us than them. And there's, we have power. We just don't comply.
And a lot of times people will just follow the power. Mm-hmm. So once people like you and me and our mentality take over, and these people that took over when they killed JFK lose power, then they're just going to align with us and it'll be no big deal. Right now, it's hard because you're going against the power. And going against the power is gnarly because they use their money and their power against you. So that's what we need to do, is we need to be strong, and we need to know that the end is near and victory is at hand. I think that's kind of what I'm thinking.
I think that's totally true and accurate.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, that was cool. That was kind of interesting how just talking about Fauci kind of opens up that whole
he opens up a lot of, like, a big can of worms. There's a lot of rabbit holes around him.
He was so mean to beagles. Did you see what he did to beagles?
I could never forgive somebody like that. That was atrocious.
Let's just, for the record, tell what he did to beagles.
Oh, let's not. It's too horrible.
Okay.
He tortured them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't just killed them.
In really horrible ways.
Horrific, but we won't get into it because kids might be listening. But yeah, it's really bad.
He's a bad man.
He's a bad man. Why are we listening to him? Why we trot him out for our health advice?
Why would we take advice from somebody who would do such a horrific thing?
RFK Jr. tells us about health too.
Yeah.
Or how about the one like Rachel Levine?
Ew.
It was a dude that now wears a dress, and then they're telling us about health.
It's still a dude. He's just wearing a dress and makeup.
You don't strike me as the model of health.
No. And even like as a dude in a dress, he doesn't look all that healthy. Like he looks kind of out of shape, you
He's kind
know?
of fat.
Yeah. Like why would I take health advice from him?
He looks like the Penguin from that Batman from
He
1991
does.
when Danny DeVito played the Penguin. He
Totally.
looks like him with a
Yeah.
dress on.
Yeah, totally.
That doesn't seem like health. And then, did you
No.
ever see like the LA County Health and Services
Oh
Director?
yeah.
And she looked like a
She
zombie.
looked like death warmed over.
She had
Yeah.
black, like a rat. She looked
Yeah.
like a raccoon.
Yeah.
It was like, why?
She was like super unhealthy looking.
And she was like, I tell you about health. It's
Yeah.
like, well, you look like an old mad lesbian who's probably like not gonna be, you're gonna get unalived pretty soon.
She had like mad cat disease or something.
I think we need to do a lesbian. We need to do a lesbian episode because
Okay.
lesbianism is kind of like a phenomena, and I think it's predicated on cult like programming.
Indoctrination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
maybe
can see that.
we might have to touch on that.
Okay.
But this was a good episode on the healthcare system. I think it was a good. It was kind of enlightening.
It was.
You know.
Yeah, totally. Well, that was fun.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I'll save it for the next rabbit hole.
That's good. Notice how they all kind of join together. It's like
Yeah.
Dr. Fauci, lesbianism. What's the connection?
Beagles.
That's right. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.